lemon balm's a very good one for planting next to tomatoes to stop some of the tomato problems. So, on to molds and mildews. So you've got this handout which has got lots and lots and lots and lots of companion plants and what to grow with what, and so I'm not going to go through that because obviously you've got it there. I am going to send to Edie to put up on the website. I found, after I put this together, I found a really nice little half page on beneficial bugs, which I'll send to her to put up on the website as well. So, molds, mildews, and all these nasty problems. So, botrytis, we've looked at, which is that one of the strawberries on the left. Then, this poor plant, it has both downy mildew and powdery mildew. Oh, shame, poor plant. It's not fair. They both happen, they're both a form of fungus. They both happen when it's very humid, but there's not much rain. So, even if your temperatures are very, very humid and you're sitting there dripping, you look at your soil and it's not wet. Water, but don't water on top of the leaves, because this is what you'll get. Water underneath. And, as George was saying this morning, if you're planting tomatoes, try and take the bottom leaves off so that you're getting an air movement around the bottom of the plant. Any plant, actually, lots of these plants, you need to get good air movement. So even though we're talking about planting things in small spaces, give them air, because otherwise you will get these mildews and rusts and things like that. The rose leaves there have got rust on them. It's called rust because it looks like car rust, and it can be an absolute pain. And of course, I've got some apple trees that are probably 60, 70 years old, and they're 60, 70 feet high, because nobody ever looked after them because they're in a hedgerow. And I'm afraid most of my apples are scabby. And the trouble with scabby apples is that you can't keep them over winter because they go bad. But today's apples have had the scab actually grown out of them. They've grown varieties that are scab-free, thank goodness. But I haven't got any. But I get a lot of that scab. So these are the sort of things. Now, there's not an awful lot you can really do about them, but to avoid them, you would need to space your plants correctly. You need to water correctly. And by that, I mean don't water on top of the leaves, because this could cause problems, especially when it's hot and humid. Water at ground level, okay? And water deeply. It's no good just taking a 4-litre thing of water, shucking it on the plants and saying, that's enough. It's not enough. You've got to make sure that whatever the root system of that plant is, that you're going right down to the bottom. So you need a couple of gallons of water. This, after all, is only 1 gallon. You need a couple of gallons, especially in hot weather. And it's got to go right down to the bottom of your roots. Otherwise, your plants are going to start sending their roots back up to the top of the soil, and they are going to flop over and just go, they're going to wilt. So make sure that you water once a week, twice a week. Don't water every day, but water deeply. That is really, really important. Soil.
A couple of gallons for what area or what number?
Basically, if you're looking at a fairly big plant like a zucchini or any of the cabbages, probably per plant. So make sure that you've got plenty of these around or quite a while to go and spend in the garden with a hose pipe. Yeah, but it is really worth doing it, bit by bit, but doing it so that it's good and deep. Because all of us tend to sort of chuck it on and think, oh, well, that's enough. But it's not enough. It's best to water early morning, late evening. Don't water in the middle of the day, especially on top of the plants, because because water is a prism, it will burn the plant. It'll burn the leaves of the plants. Your soil must be well fed. And that's the subject of number 4 presentation. And you need trace elements. Think back if you can. No, I can't think back that far. It was 1960s when I was at school. That's quite a long time ago. You had a periodic table that you had to learn every single one, and AU was gold, and Fe was iron, and this, that, and the other. Right, well, there are, somewhere in that periodic table, and I can't tell you exactly where, are certain trace elements and minerals. And I'm not talking now, but they are important: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. I'm talking things like boron. Now, if you don't have boron, and New Brunswick soils are particularly bad, they don't have enough boron, you will have brown-headed cauliflowers. You will have beets that don't grow very nicely. You will have turnips that grow appallingly. So boron, but the trouble with boron is you have to use such minute amounts that otherwise you'll actually, it's toxic. So be careful with boron. So you're literally using about half an ounce per 100 square feet. So this mix of mine, which is the alfalfa mix that I'll talk to you about in a minute, has got literally a pinch of boron in it. But it's there. Calcium, the things that we use ourselves. If you look at plant food and you look at human multivitamin, they're pretty well the same. Because we would normally, in the old days, have taken those in from the plants that grow. But we've leached our soils, so we're now having to take additives, and we're trying to give our plants additives as well. And you'll see, vitamin A, B, C, D, whatever, go a little bit below that, and you'll see magnesium, manganese, boron, selenium. British soils, absolutely no selenium virtually. So you have to feed those to get your lettuces to grow well. So trace elements are very important. Most good soils with good compost in them don't need that much extra. So it's not a major matter. But if you're getting yellow leaves, chlorosis is what it's called, and you're getting leaves that curl inwards on themselves, you're short of magnesium. If you're getting, let's see if we got it here. No, not that one. It's on one of the other ones. No, it's on one of my other things. Let's go back. I don't know. I had a lot of problems with zucchini last year. Now, I grow zucchini that they grow that size because I always forget to go and pick them. Last year, they all got what's known as blossom end rot, which is where it goes sort of grey and mouldy and goes down the little zucchini and kills it off. That is actually a lack of calcium. It's a fungus and a mildew that forms when you've got not enough calcium. And of course, because we had so much rain last year and because it was constantly moist, the fungi and the molds and the mildews and everything else grew so much better. But it also leached all the trace elements that I put on my soil through my compost or whatever. It leached it down into the soil. And it was going below the root level, except when it hit my rocks. And that's where you have a problem. That's why a lot of people had blossom end rot on their tomatoes. They had it on their zucchinis. And what's the other thing with blossom end rot? Some of the beans do. Some of the bush beans. So, yeah. So here are three different, there's 2 fungicides and a pesticide. So these are homemade. They're made absolutely naturally, but beware, they do smell. So take a leek, 2 or 3 leeks, blend them with 4 pints of water in a blender, so that they're really, really, you can't tell that it's a leek. It's a sort of mushy mess. Leave for 2 or 3 days. I use these jars are wonderful. These old cider jars. Strain the juice through filter paper, and I use lots of coffee filters. Now, that's the word I was looking for, sulfur. That's the other one, copper and sulfur. Sulfur's the yellow. Yeah. So, yeah, when you're trying to spray for tomato blight, it's copper, which is green or blue, and sulfur, which is yellow. So that contains sulfur, which is a general fungicide. And the powdery mildew spray is a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of horticultural oil. You can use ordinary vegetable oil. It's just to make it stick. In 4 cups of water, and that you spray after rain, and if it's hot and humid, every 7 to 10 days. And that's for mildew, black spot, and rust. Use that on beans. Mildew on your cucumbers and things like that, specifically, and on strawberry plants. It's quite good for this. Beans, yeah. Oh, peas, yes. Yeah, especially if you're using your peas later into the season, snap peas and things like that, yeah. So, everybody finished writing? No? Okay, keep going. I'll leave that up. Okay, I'm going to pass this round. This is this alfalfa mix that I was talking about last week, and warning you that it smells not too good. This is only 3 days old, so by the time that's had a couple of days more, it smells of molasses at the moment, but a couple more days it's really going to smell.
Which one is that?
That's the alfalfa mix.
Oh, I see. Good,
Yeah.
we haven't talked about it.
No, we haven't talked about that yet. I'll get onto that in a minute. Yeah. Yeah. This is why I said.
Manure.
Yeah.
Like
That's why I said don't. No, it'll get a lot smellier than that. And I said that's why you don't use it on houseplants.
Horses eat what?
Horses eat alfalfa.
That's almost as good as that sea
Oh, the kelp. Yeah. Ooh, yes. Or the fish emulsion.
Fish emulsion, too.
Fish emulsion. Oh boy. Now, what I did was, after I bottled that, we had some shrimps yesterday, so I took the water that we cooked the shrimps and I put it in the mix, but it's not in that mix, but ooh, yes, it's going to get. And that gets pretty strong because every 3rd day you put more molasses in a month, and then you stir it, and oh boy, it really does start smelling. I don't know, you could try. I've never tried.
Looking for raccoons?
Well, just get a live trap and put some corn cobs in them, and you'll have them. I just use those bottles because they're so useful, because they actually shut down. But as that becomes more anaerobic, because it's getting more sugars in it, it'll swell those bottles up and they burst eventually if you don't loosen them off. So be careful. Okay. Is everybody finished with that lot? Yep, right. This is actually going to go up on the NBCHG website as well, so if you didn't get it all, it's not a problem. The only problem with this homemade pesticide, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, it does not work for Colorado potato beetle. But again, it's pretty powerful. The whole garlic head, and a small onion, and a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. You put them in a blender or a mixer and pulverize it, so you're going to get a garlic stink.
So it's in a ball or a head of garlic?
Full head, yeah. Mix in the cayenne pepper and steep in 1 liter of water for 1 hour. Drain and sieve. Add a teaspoon of dish soap. Again, this is just to make it stick to whatever you're spraying it on. And spray on all those pesky insects. And it doesn't affect bees. So it's quite a good one. If you're not going to use it all in one go, try and keep it refrigerated. Otherwise, you really are going to get, and it's going to be another one that's going to smell like nothing on earth. But it's pretty useful. So, okay.